We are still on Terraform. In the last session, we were able to build a Terraform script from the scratch, and we were able to use that to provision an AWS instance. This time around, what we want to do is to build up on what we did in the last session, right? We want to create AWS instances. We want to be able to, like the one we have here, we hard coded. We want to be able to use a variable file so that we don't have all this hard coding, right? You can see we have so many hard coding in here. So we want to be able to create a variable file such that you can have this file, and anytime you want to make a change or you want to run a script, all you need to do is to modify the variable file such that everything will be linked without you having to modify this file every now and then. So we'll look at so many options, right? And we'll see plenty of possibilities. So what we want to do now, the first thing we want to do is to come in here. We want to create, okay, we want to copy this since we'll be building up on this. Okay, we want to copy that. And let's see, what's the first thing we should look at? Okay, if you look at this file, for example, you see that it has two components, right? There's a component that contains the provider, that specifies the provider, the access key, the region, the secret key, right? And there's another part that contains resources, right? The resource used, the resource to be provisioned, that's the instance in this case, right? And the several components of the resource, okay? Several components of the EC2 instance. So we have all of them here. So must we always have all this in a single file? No, we don't have to always have them in a single file. We can actually have them in separate files and run them, okay? So let's look at the possibility of doing that. Let's create a file. Let's call this 2 dots. Let's call this second, right? Let's maintain the naming convention. Let's call the file second.tf, but let's call this second underscore provider.tf, okay? So let's call the first file provider.tf. So in provider.tf, we want to be able to copy what you have up here, right, into that provider.tf file, okay? So initially, we had just a single file, right, with these two different components, right? But this time around, we want to be able to have this component here in a different file and have this part of the file in a different file, okay? So we've created second underscore provider.tf, right? So let's create another file, right? Let's put this 2 so that we can, let's make this 2 and call that second underscore resource, okay? Resource. Let's call this second underscore, okay? Underscore resource dot tf, okay? So this is the other file. So right here, the first example we did was to look at this file, right? That was what we took care of in the last session. But this time around, we want to separate the file into 2, right? The provider component and the resource component, okay? So we've copied the provider component. So let's copy the resource component as well. So we have two files now. One is the one with provider components, and the other one is the one with the resource components. Okay, so now that we've done this, let's go to our Terraform server. Okay, so right here, what do we have? Let's see, ls. Okay, so we are in the first directory, right? So this time around, we are looking at a different example, right? So want to get out of here first, right? cd ... to take us to the parent directory. So we are at home now. So right here, we want to make another directory. Let's call this directory second, okay? Let's call this directory second. So this is the directory, okay? Second. Now, let's cd to second. So now that we are in second, what do we want to do, right? Remember, this time around, we are trying to create two files. One of the files will have the provider, second underscore provider. We have the provider information, provider details, and the other one will have resource, right? So we want to see whether we'll be able to run a Terraform, the Terraform command, like do the build that we did earlier using this as well. But this time around, so let's look at what we want to have for. Let's look at the name. Well, for this second one, I want to call this multiple files, call it two files, okay? Two files. So we can use it to differentiate, right? Infrastructure by Terraform. Instance, let's call this instance by Terraform. So we are creating two files, okay? So we are just modifying what we had before, right? So this time around, we just change the tag so that we can easily differentiate, right? Instance by Terraform, two files, okay? So here we have the provider information, right? We have the provider information here. You have the provider information. So, and the file name is second underscore provider.tf. Note that Terraform scripts should always have the .tf extension. So let's go here and see what we can achieve. So let's vim into a file called second underscore provider.tf, okay? So let's paste the provider details, okay? So we have this here. So want to escape column WQ to save and quit, okay? So let's create the second file, call it vim second underscore resource.tf, okay? So this is the second file we are creating. So let's go and copy what we have from here, okay? So second, so this time around, we are using two files, right? Let's see whether what we are going to get out of it, okay? So we're going to come here and paste this, okay? So once you paste this, so we have everything in order. So we want to escape column WQ to save and quit, okay? So now that we've done this, what do we want to do, right? The first thing we want to do is to initialize. Let's see what we have. This is the directory. We are in second directory and we have these two files, right? Provider and resource.tf, okay? So we want to Terraform, we want to initialize Terraform in this directory. Terraform init, right? So let's Terraform init, initializing. Okay, so let's run a Terraform FMT to format. I know it's well formatted, but let's just do it. Okay, so this will serve as reminder. So the next one I want to do, although not necessary, right? Validate, but let's just do it, right? But the most important commands, I'll mention them, is the first one we ran, Terraform init, right? Then after that, we can just run Terraform apply, right? To go straight to the point, okay? So just validating for validation's sake, okay? The configuration is valid. Now, this is just to revise what we've done before. Then what other command do we have? We can have Terraform plan, okay? And the plan is a component of apply as well. Terraform plan, okay? It tells us that 1 to add, 0 to change, 0 to destroy, okay? So what else do we have? We can now go ahead and do our Terraform apply. If we run this directly the way it is, Terraform apply is going to prompt us to enter yes to complete the process. Rather, we can go ahead and say, use the auto-approve flag. Approve. Okay, so when you do this, let's see what we have. So let's go to AWS. So it tells us the plan and it tells us it's creating. Okay, so let's go to AWS and see what's happening. Okay, so let's see dashboard. Let's see what's happening. One at the moment, this is the Terraform server that we have, right? That we are working on, the terminal that we have at the moment. So let's just refresh and see what will happen. So let's go, let's clear the running, okay, and see what's happening. Let's drag this down to see what we have down there. Am I not able to drag it further down? So let me close this. Okay, you can see this is the one that we just created with the Terraform script. So it is being created. So you see, updated less than a minute ago, instance by Terraform, 2 files. So we were able to use 2 files, 2 separate files to create the instance, okay? So that is also a possibility. Okay, now, what should we do with this instance? Since we are just testing, I'd like to destroy it, okay? So let's use the Terraform destroy, Terraform destroy command. Terraform destroy, I can say dash auto dash approve. Okay, so when I do this, Terraform destroy auto dash approve, enter. So let's see what happens to that instance, right? This is the instance, all right? Pending at the moment. Let's refresh. So it's pending at the moment. So let's see what happens to it. It's shutting down, okay? It shows it's shutting down. So let's go and check it out here. Let's scroll down. Terraform, let's close this. You see, it's shutting down, okay? So let's refresh it. It's now terminated, right? So with the destroy command, we are able to terminate this instance. So now, if you look at what we've done so far, you will see that we've only been able to create just an instance, right? So what happens if you want to create 3 instances, for example, or 7 instances, right? Is it possible? Is this something we can do? Yes, it's something we can achieve, right? So how do we go about it? So let's look at our options, okay? So let's look at our options. So let's go back to, let's clear this. Let's go back to our, okay. So this third scenario we want to look at, we want to create, let's say third, we want to create, let's call this third.tf, right? TF. In third.tf, what do we want to do? In third.tf, we want to look at the possibility of creating multiple instances, right? In third.tf, we want to create multiple instances, right? Instead of just having one instance, right? Like here, we have just one instance we created with this, right? So instead of having just one instance, what happens if we want to have multiple instances, okay? On that note, what are we going to do? Let's copy this, okay? We'll copy this and let's put it in third.tf, right? In third.tf, we want to have multiple instances. So what can we do to achieve this? And to achieve this, we just need to introduce a line, right? Let's call this line count, okay? Count. We want to say count, and let's assume we are trying to create how many instances? Let's say we want to create 7 instances, for example. 7 instances. All we need to do, put equal to sign there, open a quote, and specify the number of instances we are creating. So that is what we need to do. So we specify count, and we want 7 instances created. So what name can we give this tag? 7 instances, this time is instances, right? Instances by Terraform. We are trying to create multiple instances. So say instances by Terraform, okay? So we are trying to create 7 instances, right? So we can say instances by Terraform, okay? So to do this, so what do we need to do? We have this third.tf, so let's copy this. So we'll go back to the server. Let's move out of here since we are done with this guy. So let's go and create another directory, dot to go to the parent, okay? Now we want to make a different directory from within the home directory, right? So let's call this new directory mkdir. Let's call this third, okay? So we have the third directory. So in this third directory, we want to use the Terraform script to create 7 instances, okay? So make this directory, we cd into third, okay? We cd into third. So now that we are in third, we want to vim into a file called third.tf, right? Our script must always have the extension .tf, right? Extension tf, okay? So go in there. So let's paste what we've copied. So we have creating 7 instances, okay? So 7 instances. So let's save this, escape, column WQ2, save and quit, okay? So now that we have this, we want to initialize Terraform in this directory. So Terraform, right? Init, right? We want to initialize Terraform in this directory that has this file so that we can run our Terraform commands. So we initialize. And as I said earlier, you can see this is successfully initialized. So let's clear. So as I said earlier, it is not important to run all the commands. So the important commands are the commands we'll be running now, okay? So I want to run the Terraform apply command, right? Apply. So Terraform apply command, I want it to auto approve without prompting me to enter yes. Okay, so auto approve. Okay, so I click on enter and let's see what happens at the other hand. It's already creating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 instances, right? Okay, so creating. Okay, so let's see what we have. Let's go to AWS. Right, 12 was what we had. So if we refresh, I'm hoping to see 19, right? 19, right? 7 instances are being created. Okay, so let's come in here and look at what we have, right? So let's check running instances. You see 8 instances are running, and let's see the name, right? Instances by Terraform. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are the 7 instances that we've been able to create, right? So we could have created 100 instances, right? Depending on the requirements. All we need to do is to put it there, right? So the same effort that it will take to create 1 instance is what is also taken to create 100 instance, 7 instances. So that is the power of Terraform. Okay, so we are done with that. So what do we want to do? We want to, you see 7 added, 0 changed, 0 destroyed. Okay, so remember that we can also make modifications, right? If, for example, yes, let me look at this. If, for example, we want to, let's see, instances by Terraform, this is the name, right? If, for example, we want this to be numbered, right? So we can know which one is which, right? Instead of having it this way, what can we do? Okay, we'll look at that in, okay, we can also look at that as part of this, okay? We can just modify this file, or I think it's better we create a different one so that we can keep it as simple as possible. Okay, so as a matter of fact, what do I want to do? I want to destroy the instances, okay? So Terraform apply, so I want to use Terraform destroy, okay? I want to destroy the instances, destroy, okay? Terraform destroy dash auto dash approve. This one is going to terminate all those 7 instances that we created. So enter Terraform destroy, okay? So it's destroying them, right? So let's see what we have here. So we should have, you see, we have this running. So by the time I refresh it now, let's see what we'll see. They're still here. They are gone, right? Where are they? Let's see them. They are terminated. Okay, so you can see, let's scroll down. Instances by Terraform, we see that they have been terminated, right? They have been terminated. So this is what we are able to do with Terraform, okay? So those instances have been terminated. So now, what else can we do? Remember, we created 7 instances and they were all having the same name, right? What if we want to have them numbered, right? Instances by Terraform, 0. Instances by Terraform, 1. Instances by Terraform, up to 6, right? So is that also a possibility? Yes, to make our work cleaner is something we can do. So on that note, we want to look at a 4th example. So let's go back here. You can see it's becoming more fun because we have initial templates built and we can manipulate it as we like, okay? So what we want to do, we want to create a new file. Let's call this number 4 and call it forts.tf, right? .tf. So this is the fort file, forts.tf, okay? So we have the forts.tf. So what do we want to do with the fort file? With the fort file, we want to look at what we have in the third and make it possible for us to have, we don't want to maintain, just have a single name for all the instances, but we want to have them numbered, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. So we are not making more than 7, right? Or we could even make 5, right? We can cut this down in this example, right? So let's copy this first, okay? So once we copy, we want to go to the file we just created and paste this there, right? So let's paste this. So we've pasted this. So let's assume we are creating 5 or 4 instances, right? Let's create 4 instances this time around. And this time around, we want to be able to have instances by Terraform and we want to have them numbered, right? So what do we do? What we need to do at this point is to come here, right? And say we want index, right? We want index, so we say $, open our curly brackets and say count dot index, right? So we introduce this into the name tag such that when it's creating the instances, we expect it to bring in the numbers, right, after it. So what do I want to do? I have this here. So I want to copy this. Let's go back to the terminal, right? So let's clear this. So what do we want to do? We want to cd ... to go to the parent directory, okay? Now that we are at home, we are in the parent directory. So we want to make a directory, mkdir, and call this directory, what do we want to call this directory? We want to call it forts, right? Forts. This is the name we are calling the directory. So let's cd into forts. Let's cd to forts. So now that we are in forts, what do we want to do right here? We want to vim into a file and call that file forts.tf. Remember, we must have the tf extension. Okay, so I want to paste what you've copied. So I've pasted that here. Okay, so this is what we've copied. So I want to paste that here. So we have count.index. So I want to save it, escape colon WQ to save and quit. Okay, so now that I've done this, what do I want to do next? I want to run my, I want to run my Terraform. I want to initialize Terraform in this directory. So it is important to know that we should have a file in before we initialize Terraform. Okay, so I want to do Terraform init, right? So we are not initializing an empty directory, okay? Terraform init. So Terraform has been successfully initialized. So let's clear it. So what next do we want to do? We want to run the Terraform apply command. Then we want it auto approved. I don't want to spend time putting in yes, approved, right? We know what we want, right? So we run that. So creating, you can see the plan. So Usually, Terraform plan is embedded in the Terraform apply command. You can see for to add is showing us the plan, right? So let's go to AWS and check out this, right? So let's see, we created 4 more instances, right? Let's see what we have. There's a dashboard. So you can see it's increased to 23 because the other ones that we terminated usually takes time for it to leave the dashboard. Okay, so you see that additional 4 to the 19 have been created. So let's see the view we have here. So you can see these ones are being initialized. You can see you have the index, right? Instances by Terraform 0, instances by Terraform 1, instances by Terraform 2, instances by Terraform 3, right? They are being initialized. So these are the 4 new instances that we have been able to create. You can see they are initializing. So what can we do? Let's go to dashboard. Let's see running instances. We have them at a glance, right? So what do I want to do? I like to destroy these instances. Clear? So I like to destroy these instances. So to destroy the instances, I want to say Terraform destroy, then dash auto dash approve. Okay, so auto approving that. So I want to auto approve. So I'm destroying this. Okay, so let's go there. You can see it's destroying, for to destroy. So let's go to AWS. Let's see what happens. Let's refresh. You can see they've been destroyed. They are no longer here. So let's just confirm here. Still destroying, terminating, destroyed, for destroyed, and they are all out. Okay, they are no longer here. So let's check. Yeah, let's see what we have. You can see that they are being terminated. So these are the new ones, the ones with the numbers. So these are the new ones that we have just created. So now, if you look at something, you realize that everything we've done so far, we've hard-coded, right? We've hard-coded. So there is now need for us to go a step further, right? We don't want to hard-code, right? Here we put everything in here. We put everything all out. Okay, so we've hard-coded. So if we choose not to hard-code, how do we go about it? Okay, so if we do not want to hard-code, right? So let's look at another example. Let's create a new file and call this number 5, and let's call it fifth, right? Fifth.tf, okay? Fifth.tf, okay? So we are creating a new file and we are calling this new file fifth.tf, okay? So let's see what we have here, what we have in fourth. So I want to copy what we have in fourth. So I'm copying that and putting it in here, right? So this is what we have, right? And we see all the hard coding that we've done, okay? So let's say I want to launch just one instance. So I'm taking this out, okay? Let's say we are launching just one instance. So I'm taking that out. So want to do this without hard coding, right? Want to do this without hard coding. So how do we proceed with that? Okay, so let's say we have this, right? So this is the main file. So this is what we have at the moment. And now let's say we want to go ahead and say, let's say, let me see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. So let's create another file and call this fifth, right? Fifth, right? Let's call this number 5, or let's call this the var.tf, right? So the var.tf file is where we want to put our variables, right? var.tf, right? Variable.tf, right? So we are looking at two files, right? So one of the file is going to contain the variables, and the other one is the main file, right? Which will link to the variable file, okay? So since this is what we want to, since this is what we want to achieve, let's see how we need to go about that, okay? So number one, let's say we are looking at AMI, for example, right? Instead of having AMI here, we want to take AMI out, right? We want to take AMI out and put like a certain variable, right? So that we can communicate with that, right? So we want to have a variable file. So we can come in here. So the first thing we want to do is to define our variables, right? We want to define our variables. So let's just go at it one step at a time. So we want to define our variable. Okay, so now the first variable we want to look at, we'll be taking it one at a time. The first variable we want to look at, let's say the first variable is, let's look at this. Let's say this is the first variable that we have here. Let's look at this variable, for example, AMI, right? Let's say we don't want to use what we have here. We want to take this out, right? We want to take this out. We don't want to use that, okay? So also, let's say instance type, we want it to pick from the variable file, right? So what else? Let's say we also want to look at um, we can just leave it at this just for demonstration purpose, right? So let's look at this and this. Let's say we do not want to add code, right? We want to be able to pick up this information from the variable file, right? So how do we go about it? So what we need to do is to go to the variable file and start to build something, right? So we can come in here and say, this is what we want to build. We want to say, okay, this variable, right? So I want to say variable, right? We need to define each of the variables. Variable, which variable are we looking at first? And say AMI, right? This is the first variable, AMI, right? The Amazon matching image, right? The operating, the distribution, right? That we of Linux that we want to use. Okay, so want to take that. Remember, we open our curly brackets and we close it. Okay, so we open our curly brackets and we close it. So what do? We go inside the curly bracket, we hit enter, right? So right there where we are, you want to give a description, right? You can say description, right? Remember, with we put a space, then we specify what we want in the quote, okay? So how do we describe the AMI? And say the value Amazon machine, let's say Amazon machine image, right? That's the description of the AMI, Amazon machine image. We can just put that there. Amazon machine image. So once we get here, we want to come down here and enter, right? So we can say default, right? Default. So what it means is that when you are trying to run this, right? From your hand, all you need to come and do, depending on what you have, right? All you need to do is to come here and specify the particular Amazon machine image you want to use without having to go to the main file here and edit it, right? So you have something here such that at the end of the day, when you want to create an Amazon machine image, right? To specify your Amazon machine image, you need to come to the variable file to modify it, right? Instead of having to do it on your main file. That way, your main file remains as it is, and what you need to be editing from time to time will be the variable file, okay? So that is what you need to be editing from time to time, okay? So now that we have this, so what can we do? So in here, we need to go and copy the Amazon machine image, right? For Red Hat server. So let's see, let's even copy from what we had in the previous file. So let's copy from here. This is bold enough, okay. Let's copy from what we had in fourth file, right? So this is the Amazon machine image, AMI ID. So we'll copy this AMI ID and we'll go and put it inside the variable, right? So we'll put it in here, right? So this is what we have, right? So for the variable here, right, we've been able to set the variable for AMI. So we put in the description, Amazon machine image, right? Then we'll say default is, right? We'll specify this in quotes, okay? So once we do this, we want to look at, we can even go ahead and say, okay, we can just leave it as it is. So let's now go to the other file that we are linking it to, okay? So the other file that we are linking it to is this, right? This is the main file, right? So we've taken out AMI. So what are we going to put in here, right? Remember our quotation, right? So within our quotation, what do we want to do? Dollar, right? Let's put in dollar and open the curly brackets. Remember what we did with this up here? Dollar, we opened our brackets, right? But this time around, I want us to look at something. We've opened this curly brackets, right? And let's close it, right? Let's close the curly bracket. So what should we put inside this curly brackets, right? We are trying to call something from somewhere, okay? So what is the somewhere, right? The somewhere is var, right? It could have been anything. It could have been variable in full, right? So, but whatever the name it is, right? We need to call it right here, right? So because that file, the variable is in that file called var, okay? So I need to say var, right? Dot So what is the name of the variable? The name of the variable that is specified here is AMI, right? We are looking at this file, the var file, and we are calling this variable AMI, right? So AMI has to listen to us, okay? So we'll come in here and say AMI, okay? So once we do this, we are fine with that line, okay? So the next one we can look at is this, the instance type, right? Which is T2 micro. It could be any other thing. It could be T2 medium that we want to run. So instead of having to come to this file and modify it every now and then, we could just go to T2, we could just go to the variable file and put in something, right? Based on what we want to define. So the next one is the variable we want to create. We can call this variable, right? Variable. This time around, we want to call it instance underscore type. So anytime there's a space in between, you use underscore, right? Instead of leaving a space, right? So use underscore. So let's open our curly bracket as usual, and let's close it. Okay, so now it's placed where we want it to be placed. Okay, so what do we want to do now? We want to specify description, right? Description. So the description is going to be, what description can we give this? But the good thing is, once you have all these templates, all you need to do is just to pick them up and modify them, right? So you can modify, you don't have to build them from the scratch the way we are doing this, right? The reason why we are doing this is because we are trying to understand how it is so that when we are working alone, we'll be able to figure things out on our own. So we can say Amazon instance type, you can say instance type, you can say instance type, you can say, for example, you can say, for example, T2 medium, or T2 micro, etc. Medium, T2 dot micro, right? Etc. Okay, so then we close the quotation here. Okay, now that we've done this, what do we want to do? Go to next, right? And specify default, okay? Can specify default. So with default, what do we have here? We want to say, remember it was T2 micro we had there, right? Let's see what we had here. T2 dot micro, right? So T2 micro is the default that we had when we looked at the previous example. So now we'll come in here and say default, then open our quote and close it and go in between and say T2 dot micro. Okay, T2 dot micro. So we can say T2 dot micro. Okay, so this is something we can do. So once we do this, we can go back to this directory, right? We can go back to this file, I mean, and come here. Remember what we did earlier? Remember this, right? What we did here. So we come here and put dollar. We are trying to call, right? Call the bracket, we close it, go in between. So where is this thing. Where are we calling it from, right? We are calling it from the var file, right? Var, and say var, okay, dot, okay, dot what? What's the variable name? Let's see. What's the variable name? So let's go to var.tf to see the variable name. You see, instance underscore type is the variable name. Okay, so we can copy this, or let's even type it. Instance dot type. Okay, so let's come here. Instance underscore type. Okay, so I want to come here to this file and say dot instance underscore type. Okay, so that's the name. Okay, so that's the name. So once we have this, we've established this. Okay, so let's proceed by, okay, let's say this is all we have. Okay, so can we also set variable for this guy? So let's see if we can do that. Let's set a variable for key name. Okay, so let's just explore and see everything that is possible, or make it simple, right? So we are actually going to follow the same pattern to do whatever we want to do, right? We are trying to create a variable. You can see we've created something for AMI, we've created something for instance type, okay? So we can keep going on and on and on while we do this. Well, since this is just for illustration, we could just stop at this, okay? So now that we have this, we have a fifth file and we have this. So we can just go ahead and run this, okay? So let's go to our, let's come here, okay? There's always an opportunity to route questions regarding your practice through the channel that we have, okay? So now let's clear this, right? Where are we? We are in the fourth directory. So let's cd dot dots to go to the parent directory. So we want to make a new directory called fifth. Let's call this fifth. This is fifth directory, okay? So looking at the fifth directory, what can we do? Okay, so with the fifth directory, we can make this directory. Then within the fifth directory, we are creating two files, right? Vim into the first file. Let's confirm the name. Remember, fifth.tf, right? That's the first file. Fifth.tf. So that's the first file. Okay. I copy all of this. Okay. Then I go to fifth.tf. Vim into fifth.tf. Vim into fifth.tf. Okay. So once we do this, we want to paste the content we copied, right? We can even, let's try to change this, right, to make it unique, okay? So this one is variable instance by Terraform. Let's call this variable instance by Terraform. Okay, so variable instance by Terraform. Okay, so we want to go ahead and save this, but let's copy this into our, let's copy this in here, change the name so that we can be consistent. Okay, so this is what we have now. So the next file we want to copy from is this, right? So come here, copy this. That's a var.tf file, okay? So that's the variable file. So let's come here, escape and escape, column wq2, save and quit, okay? Now let's vim into another file and call this var. Remember, it has to be var. You can't mistakenly put vars, right? Because it will not match what we have in the script, okay? var.tf. Okay, so once we do this, we want to paste what we've copied. Paste that here, okay? So we have everything in order. So we want to escape and column WQ, okay? So once we do this, the next thing we want to do is to initialize Terraform in this directory, Terraform init. Let's put Terraform init, okay? So what happened there? Description, var.tf, Amazon machine image, okay? Oh, description, oh, it's wrongly spelled. It's wrongly spelled. You can see description, okay? So let's just fix that. Description, I should have known. Description, it didn't, okay? Let's insert and description, okay? Let's put a T here, okay? What's happening? I to insert, what's happening? I, okay. Description, okay? So let's put the T there, okay? Now that T is there, so there's WQ. Let's not forget to modify it here, description. Description, okay, so that's fine. So we have this here. So what do we want to do next? So let's initialize Terraform again, right? So it's initializing, so it's successfully initialized, right? So what can we do now that we've initialized? The next thing we want to do is to use the Terraform apply command from apply command, okay? So this time around, let's not put the auto approve flag, right? Let's just go it the long way, okay? You see, want to add, this is the part that has to do with Terraform plan, okay? Now it tells us to enter yes to be accepted because we didn't use the auto approve flag, okay? So say yes, instances creating, okay? Let's see, it was 23. So if the previous ones are still there, it will be 24, but if not, we'll have a different number. Okay, so we have 24. So let's look at the running instances. So let's scroll to the bottom. There's the new one that we created. Variable instance by Terraform. This is it, it's running. So this is the new one we created, variable instance by Terraform. So let's see here, we see running instances, we should have 2 now. This is the one we just created, right? Using the variable scripts, okay? So what else is possible? But before then, let's destroy it. Let's destroy. Let's use the auto auto approve flag, okay? So let's destroy it. Okay, so let's see what we have. It should have been destroyed. Let's refresh. So we've looked at 5 examples. So what else can we look at? Now, let's take a look at this, right? Let's take a look at this. So state destroyed. Did I interrupt the process? Okay, it's fully destroyed. Okay, so these are some nice stuff we've looked at. So we've been able to check out the possibilities, what we can do, right, with the Terraform scripts. So these are some of the good stuff we've been able to do with the Terraform scripts. So we've been able to use the Terraform scripts to create instances, right? So something also very important we can look at, right? We can look at the possibility of, if you look at this file, for example, if you look at this file, right? This file has some information that really shouldn't. Okay, let's look at this, for example. Look at this, you can see there's the access key here, right? There's the access key. And also we have the secret key here, right? It is possible that we do not want this to be shown, right? In our scripts, right? We don't want this to show in our scripts. So what are the ways we can achieve this, right? We want this to be securely kept, right? So what are the things we can do? Okay, so there are some options for us, right? So it is either we want to keep this credential, like keep them in a file in the .bash underscore profile file, right? There's a .bash underscore profile file in the home directory, right? Let's see what we have here. So there are several ways we can do this. We can either do this on a temporary basis, right? Like expose it to the terminal, right? We can do it on a temporary basis, or we can choose to put it in the .bash underscore profile file, right? So that when we are trying to run our commands, when we are trying to run the script, we don't have to put those in there, right? So those are options, right? Also, we should know that with .tf files, right, you can put comments like this, right? If you don't want this to show up, right, you can use comments, right? You can use comments, right? If you don't want this to show up. For example, if we run a script using comments, right, and with all these details not there, you realize that we are going to hit a brick wall because there's no way the system will recognize, this command because there is no login information. But we can actually try that on here. Let's see what we can achieve with that. Or alternatively, let's assume that we are trying not to put this in our file, right? Let's say we are not trying to use the access key here. We are trying to take them out. So let's create another example actually and explore with that as well, right? Let's call this sixth, right? Sixth example, and let's call this sixth.tf, right? Sixth.tf. So this is sixth example. Let's call this sixth.tf, right? So let's say in this sixth example, let's look for this file. Let's look for what's happening here? What happened here? We created 7. Let's look at this first one that we just created an instance, okay? So let's copy this. Let's copy this and paste it in here in the 6th file, okay? Paste this in the 6th file, right? So if we come here, let's assume we don't want this to show up, right? We don't want to use this. We can decide to comment it out, right? We can do this to comment it out. Remember, with Groovy, this is the way we also comment, right? So we're able to comment this out. So now, if we do this, right, what will happen? We'll realize that because we've commented this out, is as good as deleting them, right? So let's see what happens, right? Let's go in here and create, let's get this. Let's cd dot dot. Oh, we are even, where are we? Let's see where we are. Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, what did we do here? Okay, so anyway, let's create a 6th. Let's create a directory and call this the 6th directory. Let's cd, let's make directory mkdir. Let's call this 6th. Okay, let's call this 6th. So we've made the directory, we call this 6th, we cd into it, we cd into 6th. Okay, so let's cd into 6th directory. Now that we are in here, we want to vim into a file, and let's call this file 6th.tf, okay? 6th.tf. So what we want to do with 6th.tf, this 6th.tf, we've commented on these 2 lines. We just want to show that commenting on this will not be able to log in to even do anything, okay? So we'll now see what can we do when we are faced with such a situation, okay? So what we want to do, we want to come in here and let's say, let's copy that, we've copied it. So let's go in here and paste this, right? So once we paste this, escape, column, let's call this, anyway, it's going to fail anyway, so, but nevertheless, let's give it a unique name. We can call it, let's call it commented keys. Let's just call it commented keys. Commented keys. Okay, commented keys by Terraform. So let's just call it this funny name, and let's don't forget to update it here. Commented keys. Okay. Commented keys by Terraform. Okay. Let's not forget to do that. Commented keys by Terraform. So now that we've done this, so let's go back to the terminal. So right here on the terminal, so we want to escape column WQ to save and quit. Okay. So now that we've done this, so what do we want to do? We want to Terraform init, right? We want to initialize Terraform here. Okay. So let's see what happens. So we're able to successfully initialize Terraform. Okay. But let's see what will happen, right? I'm expecting an error. And unauthorized error, right? So let's say Terraform apply dash auto dash approve, okay? So I'm expecting an unauthorized access error. So let's see what we get. See, no valid credential provided. So this is what happens, right? When we use the comment. So it's as good as removing those lines, right? So we are unable to log in, not to talk of running anything, right? Not to talk about creating anything. So this is what happens, right? So how can we resolve this, right? An option would be to, what we can do is to, if we are looking at doing this one time, right? If we are looking at doing this one time, we can use the system variable, right? And use the export. Let's export. You can say export. Let's say we are doing this one-off. You can say export AWS underscore access underscore key, right? Underscore access key, right? Equal to, see, equal to, open the quote and close it. So let's go get the AWS access key. We need to put ID here. Underscore access key ID, okay? AWS underscore access key ID, okay? So if we do this, let's go and copy the access key ID. We have it here. Where is it? So it should be here. Okay, access code is here. Access key ID. So we copy this. Let's copy. So access key ID. So we want to copy that and put it in here, right? So this is a command, right? So we do this, right? So what else we want to export? We want to bring in the secret access key, right? So we come here and say export AWS underscore secret underscore access underscore key, right? Ensure they're in capitals because they are system variables, okay? So we want to open this and close this. So if you look at this, what do we have? Let's see this, right? So we have secret access key, right? So yeah, we have access key ID. So all we need to do is to put AWS in front, make sure they're in capitals, then we specify this, okay? So we want to copy all of this, right? Want to copy all of that. Once we copy that, let's see what we get. So we want to paste that in between, okay? And run this command, okay? So now that we've done this, what will happen, right? If we do our init, let's see what am I doing? If we do our init, Terraform init, let's see what we get. You see, we are able to initialize it now, right? We are able to initialize now that we ran that command. So it's been able to initialize. So what else? Let's see what happens if we go ahead and say we want to apply, right? Apply, let's do, it has to be lowercase, I mean. apply. Let's auto approve. Okay, auto approve. Okay, auto dash approve. Okay, so let's run this. You see, we're able to go ahead and create the instance, right? So let's go to our AWS and see that a new instance is being created. Let's close this. Let's scroll down to see the new instance that is being created. Let's close this. So what's the name? Commented keys by Terraform, you see, it's pending. So a new instance is being created, right? So commented keys by Terraform. So let's see. So this is it, it's running. So we can now destroy it as well. So you can say Terraform destroy. Destroy. Okay, Terraform destroy. Okay. Terraform destroy is going to ask us to enter yes. Okay, now that we've done this, it will destroy it. Okay, now you see there's something with the way we've entered this, right? We've entered it just once, right? But once we log out of this session, we need to do this all over again, right? And that could be extremely stressful. So to avoid that, that command that we ran, we can actually put it in the .bash_profile file, right? So where's the .bash_profile file? So let's cd home. If we go to, if you vi right here, we are at home, right? You can see we are at home. If you vi or vim into a file called .bash, there's a file, it's hidden, .bash_profile, right? If you vim into a file called .bash_profile, see that there's this file, right? So right under here, right, we can come down here. I'm sure you are familiar with this file, with Maven, right? You have to export some environmental variables, right? So also with this, if we want to be able to use that, what's it called? We want to be able to run the commands subsequently, right, after this session, without having to run that stuff on the command line, running the environmental variables on the command line every now and then, can just come in here and include them, right? Those two commands that we ran can actually come in here and put them down here, right? So once you put them down here, to make them active, you need to refresh. So I'm not doing that. So I'm just showing it so that you understand what needs to be done. So nothing is being saved. Okay. Escape : Q exclamation. Okay. So I'm out. So after doing that, after updating that file, you now need to come here and say source.bash_profile to refresh it. .bash. Okay, that's it. --bash. .bash. So after updating it, you need to do this. You need to run this source command profile. Okay. .bash_profile. So run this command. So you refresh. So once you refresh, you realize that what you've done is activated. So why didn't I choose to update that file, right? Do I want to be doing this every now and then? No, actually, there's a better way I want to go about this, right? I still want to keep that secret, right? I don't want to even put it on my terminal on the server, right? So I can do something better, actually. So what can I do? I can come in here to AWS and create, let's go to IAM. Can go to AWS, IAM, right? And create a role, okay? Remember what we created earlier was a user, but this time around, I can create a role, okay? Can create a role, right? I can create a role and add policies to this role. So let's say I create a role. Remember what I created earlier was I created a user, right? I created a user, but this time around I can create a role. Let's look at the several options. Allows EC2 services to perform actions in this account. So this is what I'm looking for, right? This one allows entities in other AWS accounts, right? Okay, so this one allows federated users federated by the specific external. Okay, so I can, okay, I can just do this, right? Because I want services like EC2, right? Because that Terraform user is an EC2 instance, right? That is creating all of these things, okay? We are using an EC2 server, okay? So this should be fine. So let's see, what can we do? I'm not interested in viewing use cases. Okay, let's select this, common use cases, okay? So next, right? So what role am I trying to add? Remember the role that we had then was EC2 full, right? EC2 full, okay? Let's see the permissions. So this is the policy I'm looking to add to that guy, to that role. So just a minute. Did it prompt me for? Okay, it didn't prompt me for anything. So I go to next. I've selected that role, right? So what's the role name? You can say Terraform role. I just call it Terraform role, okay? Allows EC2 instances to call AWS on my behalf, okay? That's fine. So do I want to add a tag? No. So I've created a role, okay? Terraform role, okay? So now what do I need to do now that I've created this Terraform role? So what I want to do is to go to AWS, right? EC2, right? I have a new role called Terraform role, okay? So what do I want to do? And I've attached policy to the role. So what do I want to do now? I want to go to EC2. I'll go to EC2. So I want to go to EC2 and check out my instances running. This is this guy, Terraform, okay? So I want to click on this guy, right? So now that I'm here, I want to either, okay, I can click on that, Terraform, okay? So I can go to Actions, right? Under Actions, let's see what I have here. Let's see. Okay, this should be it. Under security, I want to modify IAM role, right? So right now you see there's no role attached to this guy, okay? So let's go back to see what we did, okay? I came to actions, I selected security, then I'm trying to modify IAM role, right? You can see there's no IAM role currently here. So I can see this is the new IAM role that we created, right? Terraform role. So I add this, I can update, right? So remember that we did not update our .bash underscore profile file, right? The reason why we didn't do that is that we want to be able to explore this option, right? If we had updated the .bash underscore profile file, it means anytime we want to gain access, right? The user that we created that access key and secret key for will be able to perform those functions, right? But now we didn't do that. And when we used the environmental variable, it was just for that particular session, right? So, but now that we have this role set up, let's see how we are going to, what we are going to achieve, okay? So what I'll do is that I will stop this instance and log in again so that what we have in the memory, right, relating to that session would have disappeared, okay? So that is what we want to do. So we'll come in here. Remember, we have Terraform. We've updated the role, right? If you check Terraform now, this guy, right? You see there's, okay, let's click on here. Modify IAM role. You see it has a policy associated with it, right? So now that we've done that, so let's go back and stop that instance and start it again. Then we'll look at the final example for this session. Okay, so we come here. So what do we want to do? We want to stop this instance, right? So that the session ends. Let's stop the instance. Stop instance. So now that we've stopped this instance, we want to be able to start it again. So Terraform stopping. So let's see what we have here. Oh, connection is gone. So we need to start a new session. This will never work again. Let's start a new session. So SSH. So let's get it. Let's start it and get a public IP address. So stopping. Can we start now? Don't think so. Let's see if we can start again right now. Not in the state for which it can be started. Okay. So let's just give it some time. But while we are at that, so let's still stopping. So let's quickly let's go in here, right? Let's create a new file and call this 7th, right? Let's call this 7th. .tf, okay? So this is the 7th example we are looking at. For this 7th example, what are we going to do? We want to come in here, copy this, right? And paste it here. But this time around, for security reasons, we don't want this displayed at all, okay? So we've cleared that. So all we have here is the provider and the region, okay? So since we've established this, so let's go and see whether this instance has stopped. It should have stopped. Still stopping or what? So it stopped. So we can start it now. So let's start this instance. Successfully started. Let's refresh. Let's see whether we have a public IP address yet. Not yet. So we have a public IP address of Terraform. So let's copy this, right? We just want to be sure that what we've demonstrated, we are able to achieve something with it. So we say EC2-user, okay? We want to use private key. Okay, so use private key. So ademola.m, so select this. So, okay, so let's expand this. Okay. So right now, we want to create a new directory, mkdir. Let's call this 7th. So this is going to be the final for this session, 7th, okay? Now for 7th, what do? We cd into 7th, we cd into 7th. Now we vim into a file. Let's call this 7th.tf, okay? Vim into 7th.tf. So let's go and copy what we have here. What do we have? So remember, we don't have access key and secret key displayed here. And let's change this name. Let's call this instance with role, okay, created by Terraform, okay? So I think this is fine enough. So let's copy this. So once we copy, we want to put it in here, right? We put this in there. So then we escape, column, WQ. So now what we want to do, we want to initialize Terraform in this directory. Remember, we did not have to set up any environmental variable, right? So we just want to initialize, right? You see, it's initialized successfully, right? So right now we can now do our Terraform apply dash auto dash approve, okay? Terraform apply dash auto dash approve. So let's see this. See, instance is being created. So let's see the instances. You can see a new instance is being created. I see. Okay. Those terminated instances have disappeared. So which one are we looking for? Okay. Which one did we just create? Instance with row by Terraform. You can see it's pending. Instance with row by Terraform. So if we come in here and you check here, so I expect to see 2 instances. So this is the one we just created, instance with row, right? You see, we didn't get any error message. It was just straight to the point. And I think with this, we've done justice to this. So we can just destroy this and we can end this session now. Destroy and end the session now. Okay, so destroyed. So let's refresh this and confirm it's destroyed. And we can end this session now. Okay, so see you in the next session.